Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CXPA 2019 Fresh Thinking Panel, Organizational Adoption and Accountability, Breaking Down the Silos and Keeping Them Down. We are so excited that you are spending your CX Day with the Customer Experience Professionals Association. My name is Derek Iverson, and I am a Membership Community Manager with the CXPA, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. You can find me at derek@cxpa.org just in case you have any questions on what it's like to be a CXPA member. I'm your guide. And if you are a CCXP who is watching, you are also eligible to submit 0.5 CEUs just for viewing today's panel discussion. I'm very excited about today's awesome lineup of panelists as well. Gökhan is the first and only CCXP in Turkey. He is founder and leads the CXPA Istanbul Network, which was awarded 2018's Most Innovative CXPA CX Day event and 2019's Best Emerging Network Award. He worked as a CX practitioner in telecom, banking, and energy sectors for 8 years, and currently he works for Enerjisa as Customer Experience Manager. He writes articles for HBR Turkey, CX Magazine, and CX Network, and he'll also be a jury member in 2019's UK CX Awards and the 2019 International CX Awards. He's an international keynote speaker, part-time lecturer, and gives trainings and consultancy to companies for creating better customer experiences. Lynn Hunsaker, CCXP, is Chief Customer Officer of ClearAction Continuum, where she co-founded its flagship ClearAction Value Exchange as a 24/7 mentor for marketing and CX roles to bridge silos. Lynn's positions at Applied Materials included Director of Marketing, Head of Global Quality, Customer Satisfaction Improvement Manager, and Voice of the Customer Manager. She serves on the board of directors for CXPA and is a top author on CustomerThink.com, where she is one of 5 Hall of Fame award recipients. CX practitioners from more than 50 countries have participated in her Customer Experience Excellent course, aka CCXP Exam Prep course. And Lynn is author of 4 titles on Amazon Kindle, including Customer Experience Improvement Momentum. Sophie Imbert is a CCXP Forrester Certified CX Pro and a successful entrepreneur, as well as working for TAFE New South Wales as Head of Programs and Student Services. Sophie runs her consulting business, The Thought Tank, which is a boutique consulting firm specializing in design thinking, customer insights, experience service design, and project management. Sophie holds a number of qualifications in business, business service design, project management, and customer experience expert certifications. Sophie has worked in well-known organizations in various professional and leadership roles, such as NRMA Insurance, Western Sydney University, TAFE New South Wales, and Iron Mountain. And finally, Stephanie Thum, CCXP, is a founding member of the CXPA and is currently the Chief Advisor for Federal Customer Experience at Qualtrics. She's the former Head of Customer Experience for the Export-Import Bank of the United States, a federal government agency that finances and ensures exports toward the creation of U.S. jobs. During her time in government, she also served as an advisor for President Obama's cross-agency task force on customer service. She's written and spoken extensively on the topic of customer experience management in the government world and beyond. So clearly, everybody who is watching the discussion today, we have just an incredible set of panelists lined up for us today that have experience in many, many different industries. And I'm so excited to get their insights today on organizational adoption. So I would actually like to turn our first question over to Lynn. Lynn, what is your definition of an organizational silo? And are some silos stronger than others?
A silo is essentially any kind of disconnect where there should be connectedness. For example, connections between organizations, between data, between systems, between handoffs, between visions and metrics and goals. So it really spans quite a number of things that are both operational and executional.
Got it. Thank you. Stephanie, what about you? So I think that Lynn has kind of covered that definition really well, but is your definition any different?
Well, I love that you started with Lynn because I think Lynn outlined it very well. When I think of what the perspective might look like from the trenches, I think about different business divisions, departments, sometimes even individuals within departments that might need to be talking to each other about the work that they're doing, but aren't. And so they become siloed off in essence. So lots of different ways of looking at it, but that comes to mind, especially when I hear Lynn's definition.
Right. Awesome. Sophie, what about you? Do you have anything to add?
I think I'll definitely support what Lynn and Stephanie mentioned, but I think also more often what happens is that the departments have their own strategy and tactics that are actually happening independently. And often what I've seen from my experience is that the company may not have a very clear strategic plan or vision or direction of where they're going. So every department is doing their own thing. And also, the values of the organization may not have collaboration as part of their corporate values. And I think when you're asking if some silos are stronger than others, I think definitely. From my experience, I've seen the silos actually and the lack of collaboration coming from the leaders in the organization. So then the staff members are not actually trying to collaborate with each other across the departments.
All right. Interesting. Awesome. Thank you, Sophie. Gökhan, these have all been awesome answers, but I'm wondering if you would have anything to add as well.
I can add a few things. For me, organizational silo is like invisible walls in the organization. So it's really hard to manage CX projects in that kind of organization. And because everyone looks for what's in it for me, nobody looks for what's in it for customers, for example. So it's really hard for us to manage that. And organizations, I think, yes, some silos are stronger than others, and organizational structure shapes based on that power balance. I can say that I worked for CX departments which reported to sales, marketing, strategy, or even IT. So I think that's a conclusion of some organizational silos and that power balance.
Great, thank you. And Gökhan, I would like to stay on you actually. What are some of the ways that you have seen these silos impact customer experience efforts in a company?
First of all, it's really hard to convince people on a common goal or common project in that kind of organizations. So people in that silos don't take any steps if they get no credits. As you know, not all CX projects give credits to other departments. So sometimes you need to change that processes that people do maybe over 20 years. So people don't want to change their comfort zone, and they don't like other people to interfere their works. So getting their support is one of the main challenges we face off, and increase that, of course, increase efforts of customer experience department.
Great, thank you. Sophie, what about you? What have you seen silos and their impact within customer experience efforts in a company?
I think as sad as it sounds, often the customer is the one that is impacted by the silos. A couple of examples that come to mind from companies I will not disclose the names of. For example, I used to work in a customer experience team, and working with marketing teams. Often what happens is the communication to customers all happen in one go without any discussions between the two teams. We had voice of customer program happening one side, marketing campaigns happening one side, and the students, the customers were hit with too many emails in 1 week. Inconsistent messaging often happens where you would see the customer experience team looking for feedback, whereas the marketing team was looking at getting more customers and cross-sells and upsells. Really an impact on brand reputation, because to the customer, it really showed that we didn't have our back office in order and we actually were operating in silos. So I think as much as every department is trying to do their best, again, that collaboration is really key in ensuring that it doesn't impact on the customer experience.
Yes, absolutely. Stephanie, over to you.
Yeah, so, you know, I came up in CX through the B2B world, but I've spent most of my CX career really applying the principles in government. And in government, the view of silos maybe a little bit different, because in some instances, at least in the US federal government space, these silos have actually pushed the practices through to reality, where some agencies might have been resistant to actually embracing the concepts and principles of CX as a business discipline. You have some oversight bodies that by definition and by law operate in their own silos, who have imparted upon agencies to begin embracing those practices and principles, which has moved the concepts away from nice to have and more into the realms of reality. And so from a silos perspective in the US government, it might be just a little bit different. But of course, then once you get inside of agencies, you do still see some of the traditional silo effects of bottlenecks from one department to the next. When you have several departments that are handling a customer transaction, for example, one of the stories that comes to mind for me is in a past life, those customer transactions transcended various departments, and a bottleneck came up in one particular department that caused customer wait times to go into unacceptable ranges. So we had to do a lot of communicating and a lot of breaking down of silos, and looking at silos with a little bit of a more of a fluid nature and actually rectifying that situation. But that's how it's looked in some of my experiences.
Very interesting. Lynn, how about you?
Well, I think that silos are the opposite of what we're looking to do with our customer experience efforts. So in essence, if our only job as a customer experience leader was to detect and bridge silos, we would probably be doing exactly what the customer wants. And that would actually be more important than most of the other programs and things that we're doing. And hopefully those programs and things we're doing are aimed at bridging those silos. I think where it really bears out is in risk that the company faces, in brand reputation loss, other very costly things that have happened when people are making decisions out of the context of how does this affect the overall customer experience. We have a lot of examples of that you can just pull out of the news wherever there's something embarrassing that a company is going through. And I think that the bottom line, the legal department and the finance department should pay attention and very, very concerned about silos in companies, because not only these risks, but it also makes doing business hard and working at a company hard. And as such, it introduces a lot of costs and waste that nobody really wants. So I think silos are really an important place to begin in thinking about customer experience strategy and execution.
Awesome. I love how you had just put it so simply, that the silos are the exact opposite of what you're trying to accomplish in your customer experience program. I think that's such an awesome way to look at it. Sophie, my next question is actually going to start with you then. What are some strategies or tactics that you have seen with some successful organizations as they broke down some of those silos?
Definitely, one that I would definitely swear to would be setting up a really strong governance within the organization, for example, using councils or committees, really responsible for the oversight of the overall customer experience strategy and the customer engagement activities. I think what I've seen with governance structures is that key departments actually are forced to collaborate with each other and actually share their information on their customer experience activities. Again, communication within the organization can never be underestimated, so it really needs to be something that is embedded. Other tactics would be community of practices or customer experience task force. I personally have worked in task force focusing on customer experience and pushing it within the organization and working with other departments. I would also say leadership commitment is also a key driver to ensure that the success of breaking down silos is achieved. I mentioned values before, so I think a very clear set of values that employees commit to collaborate and breaking down the silos. And interestingly enough, I think a simple call it out tactic would be something that would work. I've only seen it happen in one organization where the values were really clear, the behaviors were really supported, and people actually started calling out when people were not collaborating. So I think definitely those are some of the tactics that I've seen work in organizations.
Great, thank you. Gökhan, I'll turn it over to you. You also have just a ton of experience in many different industries. So what are some of these successful strategies that you have seen companies do break down these silos?
I think that the first thing that we have to show the people that we are doing the good things for customers. At the end of the day, everybody will get benefits from it, so including them. So and for successful projects, we need their support and collaboration, and we cannot do anything without them. And customer experience is not one department's job, as we always say the same thing. So they are playing an important role for increasing customer satisfaction and other KPIs as well. So another tactic is I think that getting top management support is one of the key things. First, because we have to try to convince them, and after that maybe we can try to convince their teams. I saw a lot of silos that they are not caring other departments, and when I look their top management, I saw the same attitude. So I think culture comes from the top. And if their top manager is not a collaborative person, unfortunately his team won't be too. So maybe first we have to gain that top management support at first.
Great, thank you. Lynn, what about you?
I love that Gökhan was talking about top management, because I believe that that's where it starts. It seems that the companies that have naturally been winners in customer experience have somehow defined an intentional customer experience. And this is not quantitative so much as it is a characterization of what they want customers to feel and think about their brand throughout the journey. And I think that it started with the founder, and it just was part of the way that they thought about things. And so it became a North Star for everything in terms of who was brought into the leadership ranks, how they have determined who they should hire and onboard and reward and assess performance individually and organizationally. So I would say that defining an intentional customer experience and characterizing it as a North Star for guiding everything that the senior leadership team does, and making sure that there's complete unity in terms of the vision and dedication to that North Star across all the people reporting into the CEO, no exceptions. Of course, I think that would also apply to how they're choosing their board members. And well, I think that everything just kind of trickles down from there in terms of the whole company culture and the way that people think and do. You're preventing silos by definition. One last thing that I'd like to say is that it seems that when we give assignments to our people, our staff reporting into us, we often are in a big hurry, and we have a lot of reliance on that they're just a smart person and they'll figure out how to do something. But I think it would be a really good habit for managers at all levels to be a little more patient and say, please check with all of the people, organizations throughout the company that might have something like this already in place, or might have something that we can build from, or might have a stake in the outcome or the process. And by doing so, we're actually setting ourselves up to be more omni-oriented in our management rather than siloed in our management. I think that would solve more of the problem so far.
All right, thank you. Stephanie, how about you?
I definitely agree with Gökhan about the talk track needing to stay on what's best for the business, because I think that breaking down silos has a lot to do with communication and how we communicate individually. And keeping that talk track focused on what is best for the business can keep everyone focused on the broader picture. I think individually, that talk track needs to also be about demonstrating respect for your coworkers and their various areas of expertise while still trying to focus on what's best for the business. I think that individually, you also have to ask for opportunities to collaborate and ask another person in another department for an opinion on something. Sometimes breaking down those silos is going to happen one conversation at a time. I think that it has to do with communicating a lot and really never giving up, and understanding that success in breaking down silos, or maybe at least looking at silos with more of a fluid viewpoint rather than breaking them down, you have to consider that success is going to come little by little, and it can really take a lot of time to build. But understand that it happens one individual at a time, sometimes one conversation at a time.
Great, thank you. Stephanie, keeping it on you then too. So in terms of things that you might have seen with some companies that have achieved success in breaking down these silos, are there any sort of risks that might kind of come back at them? And if so, how are they going to mitigate these risks?
Well, absolutely. I think that there can be huge risks. And of course, with the focus that I have currently in the government space, it's something that is just almost just part of the way that it is, because it's especially relevant in government when there's so much turnover. Every 2 years, every 4 years, you're going to have leadership turning over, and there are risks of that happening. But I think getting around this can happen. Sophie was talking about governance early on, and I think getting around some of those risks can come through administrative policy development, for example, on when, where, and how frequently you're going to survey customers, when, where, and how frequently you're going to assemble your task forces and your internal advocacy groups to examine data points that let you know what the customer's world is like. Writing stuff down, go ahead and getting that charter and those guidelines written down and established and socialized. And your values, again, like Sophie was talking about earlier, getting those values established, written down, understanding and how you're going to respond to customers as an organization. And I think your governance processes can help you with that.
Right, definitely. Sophie, would you like to expand on that then as well?
I think I completely agree with Stephanie. She's articulated this beautifully. I think, yeah, like she mentioned, there's a huge risk given that people move on to different organizations. So silos are really linked to individuals. So if the leadership is not showing collaboration and they move, and all leadership is showing collaboration and that leader actually moves, there's huge risks. I think how CX leaders can mitigate those risks, I'm going to use 4 C's: commitment, collaboration, communication, and customer at the center of everything, really. And if it keeps getting reinforced within the organization, I think that's the only way CX leaders can actually mitigate.
Great. Lynn, I'll turn it over to you. What are some of these risks and how do we mitigate them?
Well, I think that there's costs associated with it, but really boils down to finding ways that we can connect with each other. Digitalization is one example of real concerted efforts to make things connected and to make things seamless for customers. But I think in the course of digitalization, we're seeing more pronounced disconnects in the other areas, processes, and people. So I think that it's really important in strategic planning to set aside a certain amount of resources, both financial and people, to address these other aspects that can't be addressed just through some technologies. And I see that as a big risk that we're all facing in customer experience, where most of our budget and world is being gobbled up by a dedication to certain technologies. So stepping back, looking at things the way that customers look at it, what makes sense for customers, what makes sense for the managers, and then making things as easy as possible for customers and managers to make a difference in customers' life. That's my advice.
Great, thank you. Gökhan, finally you. These have all been great answers, but I'm hoping that you would have something to add as well.
Actually, I really agree with Stephanie and Sophie mentioned about that values and governance thing. I believe that it shouldn't rely on a single person or a single department that relationships, that they can break anytime when they leave. So I believe that customer experience team should spend more time about creating customer-centric culture in the organization, such as organizing trainings, CX talks, sending CX newsletters, launching projects such as customer experience ambassadors in each teams, or collecting wow stories from other departments, other employees. So these cultural activities can build a good relationships between departments, and also that these are improved, can improve that relationships as well. So transparency, one of the key words. I think everything should be transparent and people can trust each other. So also CX team shouldn't avoid to give credits to related departments.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Well, about covers everything that I wanted to go over with our panelists today. This has been incredibly awesome information. I really appreciate all of you spending time with the CXPA today to share your thought leadership. So first off, a big virtual round of applause for our panelists today for doing just that. And for all of you that are watching today, I wish you a very happy CX Day, and that you have taken something away from our panelists today that you can easily implement into your 2019 strategy, and then hopefully then you can also kick off 2020 with a bang. So again, everybody, thank you so much for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Happy CX Day.